For more frequent video uploads, feel free to support AnimeKouhai at Patreon. The link is in the description below.
He didn't know what kind of relationship Guy had with Leon, nor what he thought of Rimuru. He couldn't even predict how Guy would react as he replied. Despite it all, Yuki still decided to express his ambition deliberately.
That's right. I want to dominate the world, and I will beat you in the end, Demon Lord Guy Crimson-san.
Yuki proclaimed with impudence. It was up to Guy to interpret this. Even if we followed Laplace's plan, I doubt a single one of us would have seen another day. Sorry guys, but please play along with my plan. Yuki apologized to his companions in his heart. It was all or nothing for them, and Yuki was very greedy. If he lived, he would get everyone else out alive as well. The bet was incredibly risky. However, Yuki hit the jackpot.
Are you guys seriously called the moderate clown troupe? Because you sure act like clowns. You've thrown the entire playing field into disarray, like some kind of joker card. Your proposal is very interesting. Considering how bold you've been, I've decided to let you all go peacefully. However, don't expect me to be merciful the next time we meet.
In the end, there was no telling what Guy's goal was. Whatever it was, what mattered now was that Yuki and his companions were saved. Rain and Misery couldn't object to Guy's decision. As soon as Guy said they could go, Yuki and his companions fled on the spot. After Guy and his servants left, Yuki and the other clowns hurried to the agreed-upon rendezvous point, where Kigali and the others were. Since there were no more threats, everyone thought that it was best to leave as quickly as possible. Once he saw Kigali at the rendezvous point, Laplace spoke up to Yuki.
Y'all gotta be kidding me. Unbelievable. To do something so bold in front of that monstrous demon Lord Guy.
And we somehow managed to escape safely.
Tyr added.
I honestly thought that we were screwed.
I had confidence in Boss from the start.
That's because you don't use your brain, Laplace teased Footman. Yuki saw the exchange from the corner of his eyes and sat on the ground, exhausted.
I was forced to come up with that plan on the spot, but that probably was the only way we could have gotten out of this situation alive. Thankfully, it worked in the end. I'm not taking any complaints from you guys.
As opposed to the wounds he sustained in battle, his mind was far wearier. Yuki didn't want to argue any longer at this point. He lay down spread eagle on the ground and closed his eyes. Kigali had no clue what had happened, so Laplace and Tyr began to explain the whole story.
You guys fought Guy, and you managed to come back unscathed.
Kigali couldn't contain her shock, becoming utterly baffled. Ah, it's so good to be alive. As the wind caressed Yuki's face, he let his thoughts wander. Suddenly, he remembered something. What was that mysterious voice he heard halfway through his battle? Was it my alter ego? No way, that sounds like some made-up nonsense. Actually, hold on. Even though I don't feel there's any power hidden inside me, there's one possibility that I could think of. Yuki recalled his recently acquired power. The unique skill Greedy One. With this skill, the stronger his desire was, the more power it would grant him. During his battle with Guy, not a single one of Yuki's attacks landed. This naturally included the powerful skill Greedy One, of the Deadly Sin series. This Greedy One sure is a mystery too, but there are always skills and magic beyond my imagination. Guy managed to bypass my anti-skill with his magic. I have to figure out how he did that. Yuki had an incredible amount of self-confidence, yet his ego took a huge hit after being taken down by Guy so easily. He wouldn't give up that easily, though. Now that he managed to survive safe and sound, he must think of plans for the future. Yuki's greatest strength was that he could quickly refocus himself. He was once an extremely arrogant person, thinking that he had power even surpassing the demon lords. No, even if I'm not the strongest, with the right amount of research and strategizing, I can beat any opponent I face. Relying on the power he had and the assistance of Kigali, Laplace, and the others, he managed to build a powerful faction. Everything was going smoothly. But lately, he was experiencing failure after failure. Moreover, Yuki's fight with Guy had completely destroyed his confidence. That being said, he was lucky to even be alive after that fight. Things are getting very interesting. Some extra difficulty really spices up a game. And so, Yuki was not frustrated at his defeats. Instead, he pondered further on it. Speaking of Guy's ability, he was struggling to analyze it, even using his creator. Unique Skill Creator was very special. Not only could it create skills, but it could also analyze other people's unique skills, provided they were using them, but Yuki believed no one could hide their abilities against him. And yet, it hadn't worked on Guy. That meant that he had some power greater than unique skills. Yuki craved for power. He wanted stronger powers that would surpass Guy's. Deep inside his heart, the flame of his desire burnt violently. In that case, perhaps my greedy one has the chance to evolve, too. I am greedier than anyone, if I pour my desire into it. Yuki felt a shiver of excitement. He started thinking hard. Losing to Gi had made him realize how unfair this world was. He wanted to fight it and emerge victorious, that was Yuki's wish. He closed his eyes and spoke to the voice inside his heart. He ventured to a place deep in his heart and continued to delve deeper until he reached the bottom of that abyss. Yuki observed the abyss carefully.
So, are you ready to take my help now?
No, that's not my plan.
Then what do you want?
I have some business with you.
Some business with me?
Yes. I am going to take your power.
Quit joking around.
I'm not joking around. I am very serious, you know?
Stop this nonsense.
Sorry, but you're in my way.
Ah.
The next second, his wish swelled to fill his entire mind. He desired his true ambition and its fulfillment. He didn't want to be anyone's servant. His strong will turned into a weapon. Yuki was challenging himself. Then, the voice of the world rang out.
Confirmed. Condition satisfied. Unique skill Greedy One has evolved into ultimate skill Greedy King Mammon.
Yuki opened his eyes once more, now with a smug smirk.
I'll make good use of your power.
He muttered quietly enough that no one else could hear. On that day, at that moment, at that place, the foulest Majin was born.
Volume 12, Chapter 1. The Staccato of Marching Jackboots. Part 1.
We returned home on the same day that our music exchange with Ruminas ended. Venom and his subordinates, as well as the band members whom they were in charge of escorting, were now all perfectly safe. The children that Diablo protected were given a week off to rest. Thankfully, they did not sustain any injuries, but I still wanted to make sure they were safe and sound, just in case. They had witnessed firsthand the difference between training and the real deal, and as a result, lacked their usual liveliness. I was afraid they were traumatized, so I told them to have a good rest. My conference with both Ruminas and Leon was moved to a different date. After arguing over where it would be held, we finally settled on the capital of Tempest, Rimuru. We came to this decision because Rumina's place, Rubirius, would be busy with restoration. As for why Leon's territory, El Dorado, was a no-go, there was apparently something serious going on over there and so they couldn't afford to invite foreign dignitaries at the moment. In that regard, there would be no problems if we convened in Tempest, and I had no reason to decline. After all, we already had 2 demon lords staying in our nation. A certain annoying fairy and a lazy, young nobleman popped into my head. I didn't have time to rest yesterday, since the 2 of them came over as soon as they could. After Leon had returned home, he allegedly began to make immediate preparations for his visit. While I thought it was rather impatient of them, I understood that both Ruminas and Leon wanted to prioritize the exchanging of important information. Besides, I wanted to hear their sides of the story about what happened. That was why I didn't voice any complaints and instead agreed with them. We gathered in the most luxurious reception room available. The leaders of this conference were Ruminas, Leon, and I. Given that it was a conference between demon lords, I put on airs to suit the occasion. Only those involved would take part in the meeting. Once we collated the various details, we would determine how much information we could share regarding Chloe. Given the circumstances, there was a tacit agreement that it would be better to keep Chloe's situation a secret from even our own subordinates. Xian, Diablo, and Veldora were also coming with me. Honestly, I didn't want Veldora to attend. Since he would get bored halfway through the conference anyway, I wanted him to play quietly in his room. But for some reason, he became all adamant and asked,
"And why should I not be joining?"
"If you insist," I had unwillingly agreed to let him participate. Xian was supposed to be in critical condition following her battle with Razul, but she recovered in the blink of an eye. Ultraspeed regeneration was indeed a very terrifying skill. She stood dutifully behind me, alongside Diablo. Hinata was seated next to Ruminas, with Louis and Gunther shadowing them both. Positioned behind Leon, the 2 knights, Alrose and Claude, were also at the ready. Last but not least was Chloe, the girl of the hour. Even though she returned to her childlike form, it would be prudent to treat her as an adult. The inside of the room was furnished with a rectangular table, along with 6 individual armchairs that we had provided. Veldora and I sat side by side, directly facing Hinata and Ruminas. Leon and Chloe, on the contrary, were seated at the ends of the table, opposite each other. With that, the interim Demon Lord meeting had begun. First, we asked Chloe to personally explain to us what had happened. As she delved into her story, Hinata interjected here and there, adding her own clarifications for what had occurred. Naturally, what they shared was impossible to believe. However, having experienced that imaginary landscape firsthand, I could more readily accept their testimony.
So, With the help of Hinata and Rimuru-san, I was able to safely free myself from the infinite loop.
Chloe declared, marking the end to her almost inconceivable explanation. Everyone looked like they had something to say, but kept quiet, glancing around as they tried to gauge each other's reactions. In such an uneasy situation, Veldora was the one who broke the ice, mainly because he couldn't read the mood at all.
Which means the hero who sealed me away was.
That doesn't matter at all, does it? I thought quietly to myself, but Hinata already had a response waiting.
Me. Now we're tied with 1 win and 1 loss. Don't you think it's good to have tasted defeat?
What?
Oh, do you have a problem with that? If you want, we can settle this once and for all.
Very well. Since you insist, allow me to show you my true strength and.
Our meeting would go nowhere if this continued. Hinata was usually level-headed, but strangely enough, she was being immature towards Veldora.
Alright, that's enough.
Please discuss your differences when you two are alone.
Hinata, it is very important to teach that moronic dragon some manners. If you are going to fight him, then I'll join you, so don't be afraid to call me at any time.
Please don't make things worse, Rumina-san. And so, I hurriedly changed the subject.
Come now, everything turned out fine. By the way, I've been thinking about this for a bit, but I was apparently killed, right? I wonder if the culprit came from the Empire.
This was an important issue to me. Even now, the Empire's movements remain suspicious. We needed to stay vigilant due to their potential hostility. Chloe voiced her support.
Yeah, probably. I also think that it was the same person who killed Hinata. It seems like there are powerful individuals in the Empire, and although there's also the possibility that you were challenged by several people at once, the flash of light that pierced through Hinata was something I couldn't even follow.
I see. If this person could kill Hinata, then including me on their hit list wouldn't sound too far-fetched because I never became a demon lord in that timeline.
Despite the fact that I've evolved into a demon lord now, it's still better not to let my guard down.
Even though it was a completely different timeline, I felt serious aversion to the person that had killed me. We definitely needed to exercise caution when it came to antagonizing the Empire.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shoutout to Luminous T, Night Gazer, Alcoxide, Marshall Lee, BN, Tokenum, Night Karasuna, Claude Lucas, Vipin Gosane, and last but not the least, shoutout to Destrega.